Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, I am super excited to welcome Jeannie Spiro onto the show. Jeannie and I met each other, oh my gosh, how long ago now? Like 12 years ago or something?
Yeah.
A really long time ago. And we recently got reconnected. And it's just so great when you know somebody for that long of a period of time to be able to see how they've evolved their business, to be able to see what they have done. And what Jeannie's done is pretty darn impressive. So I am super excited to have her share some of her magic with all of you today. We're going to be talking about how to sell high ticket offers, but without all of the fancy funnels, with all the complicated launches, and without all of the noise and complexity that so many other people follow. And this is what Jeannie has mastered the art of. So I'm super excited for today's conversation. Welcome, Jeannie.
Oh, Krista, thank you so much for having me. And it's wonderful we've reconnected and get to do this today. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I remember our in-person events out in LA, like back in the day.
I know.
And meanwhile, I think you're like all of an hour from me in real life.
I know. It's great.
All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Jeannie, and then we're going to get to the good stuff here. So she is a business and sales strategist, and she specializes in helping women entrepreneurs, service providers, and conscious coaches create recurring revenue with impact-driven, high-end offers. She offers private coaching, she has a mastermind, and she has helped hundreds of clients turn their expertise into high-ticket programs and develop sales systems that allow them to consistently generate multi-6 and 7 figures in their business. And you might have heard the magic word in there, system. You know how much I love systems. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today too. But first, let's kind of dive into some of the mistakes that you see people make when it comes to selling high ticket, because I bet there are probably quite a few of them.
Oh, there's so many. You know, one of them is to not have any systems or to really have only one system. And I'll go back in time just a little bit because in 2019, I was selling high ticket constantly through for years. I was selling high ticket through one method mostly. And then in 2020, I couldn't sell that way any longer. And so this is a mistake that I see, is that oftentimes what a lot of business owners do is they don't lean into selling all year round or like launching, just like one launch a year. And that's a big mistake, because one of the things I think that happens is that people put all their eggs in one basket. And I used to do this all the time with events. And so when you had one event and it didn't go as well as you wanted, it was very, very stressful. And it's the same thing with a webinar or anything else. And you're relying on all of that. So that's a big mistake that I see often happens, is you rely on one way of selling and one time of year of selling, and not creating your high ticket programs so that you're able to invite people to work with you at any time of the year. And that's the other part of the mistake that I often see, is that a lot of business owners will design it so it starts at one time, right? Everybody has to enroll at one time of year, and then you have another enrollment the next year, as opposed to have a rolling enrollment. It's a big issue, because then what it does is it says, oh, I'm only opening the doors once a year. I'm not going to work with you any other time of year. So that's another mistake I often see. The other thing that I see is these complicated funnels that everyone spends so much time putting in place. And it's like layer upon layer upon layer. And what they don't do is actually find out if their offer is going to sell. They've put the funnel in place before they find out if the offer sells. Like, does anybody want my offer? But let me put all these other steps in place. And that's a big issue because then you've put everything into this system and you haven't tested it. And so I like my clients to test before they build out any type of fancy funnel.
So much gold. I feel like we just end the episode here. Done. There's all the wisdom that you need for today. But no, we are going to talk about so much more. But really, there's so much in that. I'm like, where do we start? One of the things that I see a lot as well is even for someone who's really seasoned and they've been in business for a long time, I think it's so easy for us to think we know what the market wants and we are so sure of what they want and so sure of exactly the way that we should package and kind of structure something. And oftentimes it's not exactly what we're sure of, but we place a really big bet on that being true. And we're either spending a ton of money on ads or we're spending a ton of time on our team or our own efforts. We're building these funnels and all of these things, truly believing that when we build it, they will come.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't. Well, and I'll tell you, back when we first met, I had fallen into that little trap of launching something based on what I wanted to offer. And I put it out to the world and I thought, oh, this is going to sell. Everyone's going to want this. And I had one person. I wanted 20 in my program. There were many reasons why I didn't have 20, but one of them was that I had gotten the offer wrong and the messaging wrong. And I also, this is the other piece, I didn't have the right people on my mailing list. I had didn't realize what I had done was set myself up to fail. And then I thought, oh, wow, I didn't hit my goals. And I internalized it as opposed to looking at the analytics of it. Like we could talk about all this stuff all day long, but I'm like, oh, this is why it didn't work. Oh, okay. Now I get it.
Yeah, and I love that very objective view because I think it's really easy to internalize and assume that we did something wrong or we didn't work hard enough or we didn't have our messaging just right or we didn't do something right. It's on us. But I also think there's a lot of really bad practice out there where you could talk to a marketing person or you could talk to an ads person and they'll tell you that you did it wrong. Like, no, you just needed to spend more money. No, you just needed to send more emails. And it's like, I feel like there's all of these messages when at the end of the day, that's probably not the root cause of the issue at all.
No, often not. That's exactly it. I had the advantage of being like helping products launch, and it was in the health insurance industry. So a product would launch and I would watch it go. And then I had a sales team I was managing and we were selling the product. And so sometimes we'd get the product wrong, completely wrong. And I was in Medicare sales and then I was in commercial sales. And I could see when we get it out to market, we had problems with some of these products because not enough market research had been done. So it was hard.
Oh, yeah. Kiss of death in my first jewelry business when I scaled it was I designed everything that I was absolutely certain was going to sell incredibly well. And when you have a product-based business, super expensive. I mean, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my product and it is collecting a beautiful amount of dust downstairs in my basement to this day. So I learned that lesson the hard way that does not matter how many conversations you have with people. You have to validate, and don't assume anything.
That's exactly it. That's true. Yes.
So how do you then, right? If everybody's nodding along and saying, yeah, definitely. How do you approach this different? How do you approach this in a really smart way and in a way where you're not getting sucked into that trap of the complicated funnels?
Well, that is an exercise in and of itself. And so oftentimes what happens is clients will come to me at a certain phase and stage of business that they've already been down some of those traps and they've been there and they've done that and they've seen it hasn't worked. And what they're really trying to do is shortcut the process because like your business, you are so brilliant at what you do, Krista, and all you want to be able to do is serve. You want to help. You want to do what it is that you do so well, right? And spend your time doing that. And that's how my clients are too. They want to make the impact. They want to work with people. They want to be in the transformation. And so at that point, they're like, what's the fastest way for me to get there? I don't want this complication. Shortcut it for me. So how do I do that? I really look to figure out what is it that they're selling. First of all, like what is it they're trying to make an impact on? Where's the transformation in what they're doing? And who is it that they provide the best transformation for? How do we then find more of those people? Because high ticket isn't about, thousands of leads. It's not thousands of clients that you're working with. Oftentimes when you have a high ticket business, and I'm sure you know with every, like the difference between products and working in service is you're dealing with many, many, many items, right? With products oftentimes versus with people. If you have a higher ticket offer, you don't have to work with as many people in order to achieve your revenue and impact that you want to make. So what I really look for is helping my clients decide, how do they want to serve? How do they want to sell? And what's an easy way for them to do it? Some of my clients excel at webinars. In fact, they're so, so, so good at hosting a live webinar, and they would rather do that all day long. Some of my clients would much rather get on a stage and host a live event or a workshop, and they love that. And there's many other ways to do this. There's email, there's a combination of all of these different strategies. But what I really look for with my clients is to find out, just like with marketing, it's like, what's the way that you want to market that works best for you? Well, what's the way you want to sell that works best for you? So when we identify what's the way that you want to do this, and how much tech ability do you have or non-tech ability, and do you even want that, then we can move in. Then it's like, which approach is going to work for you? I feel that's kind of liberating, as opposed to someone saying this is how it has to be done, right? It's like, I've done that where I've done all sorts of things and I thought, I don't like this. This doesn't work for me. So the secret to the how is finding out, how do you like to sell? How do you want to sell? The other how is mastering discovery calls. Like, I really firmly believe that everyone needs to learn how to sell one-to-one, no matter whether you're selling to many people at a time, right? Or one person at a time. You need to master one-to-one. And so oftentimes I'm getting my clients to go back to sell their one thing first really well, many times in discovery calls. And when they do that, they're like, great, I can do this selling one to many, because then we can move them into that style. It was a long answer, but I hope it was.
No, that's so good. And one of the things that I've learned, because I frequently don't do a lot of calls, right? I
Mhm.
tend to just do calls when people are ready to work with me. I have a super high close rate, which isn't always a good thing, but it's because the only people who get on the phone with me are the people who already know they want to work with me. And it's
Yeah,
more, hey, how can we get started, right? But
yeah.
one of the things that I've learned and I've had to teach myself to do is anytime I'm launching something new,
Mhm.
get calls with people, and I don't even go into the call with any expectation with anything. I want to hear their language. I want to hear what questions they
Yes.
have for me. It's the thing that's so obvious to me that I've been doing for 20 something years of my life. I might take for granted something that I'm not saying, or
Yes.
something that they're not seeing, that I feel like it's right there on the page, but I didn't say it in a way that they can hear it. And I think we don't know that unless we have those calls. And so I had to change that in myself, because I was so used to, right? I sell high ticket. I have a few conversations. The conversations almost always close. But as I've branched out, as I've started doing new things, it's those conversations are critical.
Absolutely critical. And oftentimes what happens is we get so comfortable selling whatever that it is that we're selling. And then we hit a point where we have to expand our audience and people might not know us, or we change and create a new product or program or something, right? And at that point, we actually have to do exactly what you said, Krista. We have to go back out again and we have to sell it again. And we have to remember how to sell, because we know what we've created, but we don't always hear what it is that they want or what they need. Or actually, we think we know what they need, but we actually have to hear what they want too. And you won't know what people want until you get on the phone or you have a discovery call, right? And then from there, you can build so much out from that. You can build your sales pages, you can build everything else. But oftentimes, I don't even have my clients using sales pages at all because they don't need them. They simply have to figure out what's the way to invite them to a call.
Brilliant. And I'm so curious your take on this because I've seen the market has shifted quite a bit over these past few years for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But I've noticed this year in particular, kind of started last year and it's trickled into this year. Buying patterns seem to have shifted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing things that used to work well, people getting really burnt out on. People are getting really burnt out on a lot of the funnels. People aren't signing up for a lot of the complicated launch strategies anymore because they kind of know what to expect now. And
Yes.
so, what are you seeing kind of out there? I will use the general term, and kind of where are things working really well in the way that you approach things?
Well, I really always knew that I could sell from the stage. So what I always leaned into was having an event or having a workshop a couple of times a year. And that for me was a really great way of being able to sell. It still is, except it wasn't for a couple of years, right? Or like year and a half, 2-ish year period, people couldn't have events. So in that time, we reverted to workshops online, but then people got burnt out of being on Zoom and wanting to do all of that. And there were so many webinars during that time, right? So many workshops and webinars that people were not really interested in. Like, I think people have gotten completely burnt out and now they want to be back in person. So the trend I'm seeing that's happening is people want to be gathering, they want to be with each other. They like learning in person because we've missed that for a long time. We've missed that. Every time I put out that I'm hosting any kind of workshop or event, I don't have any problem filling it now whatsoever. But for a long time, I actually had a very hard time with selling from my email list. And that has completely changed over the last couple of years. So what I'm seeing works is still email marketing works, live events, and I call them workshops. They're not big, massive events. They're not productions. They're intimate, um, experiential. Sometimes they're an opportunity to connect and learn from the person that they're learning from and be with other people. They are really working. What's also really working is short sales pages, very, very short sales pages. Nobody needs all of the information anymore. Video sales pages work really well because when you can't see someone in person, if you have a video on your sales page and they can connect to who you are and then read the copy or hear your voice, that works too. Um, PDFs as opposed to these pages, right? Here's a document. This is it. The other thing that I use often is I will send a Loom video as a way of selling as well. So there's just all like we have an opportunity to use technology in a different way and connecting with people in a different way to relate and connect. It works so differently as opposed to someone going through a recording and all of that. It doesn't work the same way I'm seeing as it once
Well,
did.
it's interesting because I did an episode on this, I don't even know when, a few months ago. And one of the things that I shared and that I'm seeing, and I have to remind people of this all the time, is people buy on their timeline, not
Mm-hmm.
on yours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so often we think, yeah, well, my cart's open now. I'm just going to add these fast action bonuses and get people to buy right now. And sometimes you can force some saying in air quotes somebody to buy now with the right incentives or the fear, the FOMO that the cart is closing and they're going to miss out forever and all those things. But it's not really the way that I feel like I want somebody to be buying. I don't want somebody to guilt themselves into buying or buy out of pure FOMO and then regret the decision and not end up getting the result. I feel like when you're selling high ticket, you want to structure things to have an offer that's available for people to buy when the time is right for them. And
Yeah.
I think even with webinars, it's hard. Like, I love doing things live. I absolutely love it. And I know a lot of people say, don't send the replay. Do not send a replay. And I was
Mhm.
like, I teach better live. I do better live. I like the interaction. So I'm going to host it live. But I also personally don't attend things live. I only watch replays. So I
Right.
can't expect people to be there live, and I'm not going to not give them a replay. Like, it feels not right to me. It feels like we're trying to force people into behaviors that
Mhm.
don't fit the way that people naturally need to feel supported.
And Krista, I think this brings up something that's really important. There's people like us. We've been online for a really long time and we are seasoned. And so we've seen it, we've been through it. Like, I think we're advanced in a lot of ways in what we've seen. But I think the overall buyer has been online for a long time too. And so other types of businesses are teaching people how to buy. We have instant gratification. We can go to Amazon and we can get something right away. We can buy anything right away. So it's the same thing. Like when you're talking about this timeline, if I have a problem and I'm looking for a solution to it, as a seasoned person who's been online right now for a long time as a business owner, I'm kind of advanced in what I need. I need to talk to somebody though, in order to, like, if I see something and I'm interested, I still need to talk to somebody. It doesn't mean I'm not interested in the product. It doesn't mean I'm not going to say yes right away. It just means I need to confirm that this is a yes for me. And it might be a short window between purchase. But the point I'm trying to make in all of this is that many of us at this point, we've seen it all, we've been through it all. And what we're really looking for is to have a problem solved or desire met. And we want it. We want it sooner rather than later. In most cases, we want to be able to talk to somebody to confirm if it's right for us now or later.
So true. It's so funny. I literally did a call with someone for $100 product recently because I'm so used to having calls with people because it's how I make buying decisions since most of what I buy is higher ticket. And I
Mhm.
didn't need to do the call with her, but I wanted to learn about her work because I knew I wanted to actually hire her. I wasn't
Mhm.
just buying the $100 product. I started with the $100 product to see what the experience was like with her. She's a hypnotist. And so she recorded this really amazing meditation for me that was really personalized. And she definitely needs to increase her pricing. But aside from that, like, I knew that I wanted to work with her over time. So I did that. But it's funny as you're saying that, because I'm like, yeah, I'm the same way. I will always book a call. And I even booked a call for $100 it was a 15-minute call with a different intention behind it. But it is funny. I think when you are used to buying high ticket or when you're looking for something high ticket, you do want that connection and that touch.
Well, and I want to also share a story, if this is okay, to kind of give you an example of the familiarity, like when you know someone you're buying high ticket versus the when you don't know someone. And so I've worked with several clients for a very long time with their launches. And a couple of years ago, I worked with a client. They had a very amazing audience, a nice size list, and they were launching. For the first time, a new program. And I said, you've got a warm audience. We know that they're going to want this. Let's just reach out to them and have you book 20-minute calls with each of them. They filled it. It ended up being almost a $500,000 launch. I mean, it was very easy. It was a couple of emails, a couple of phone calls, very simple. Well, the next year, they launched it again. But that time, they had to go through a bit more of a launch to people who didn't necessarily know them as well. So they had to go through the webinar. They had to go through 2 webinars. They had to get copy. They had to go, out to another audience. And the results were close to the same, but the process was very labor intensive. And so you know, t- like financially, it was good. But what I really like my clients to be able to do is really connect, really nurture, really make sure that you're developing a relationship with your clients or potential clients through email, and use it to your advantage to develop this longer term relationship. So whenever you launch or whenever they're ready to buy, they're like, yes, please, a 10-minute, 15-minute call, I'm in. Right? So you don't have to do these big funnels and launches.
Oh, it makes so much sense, and it just simplifies everything for everyone. I feel like it simplifies it for you selling, but it simplifies it for the person who's making the buying decision. They don't have to get on some big long drawn out call. It ends up being, I already know what I want. This is just like the final confirmation. It's great
Yep.
all around.
Well, and I invested in learning how to write copy. Like I hired a copywriter. I really understood. I didn't know how much copy we would need to do at all when we started our business. And I thought, wait a minute, what? I want to develop a relationship with my list. I want to be able to figure out how they can work with me. So what I did for, actually it's been 5 years now, is I've really just worked on developing a relationship with my list. So pretty much anytime I send out an email when I'm making an offer, people will respond and say yes. And it it didn't it when we first met over a decade ago, that wasn't like that at all for me.
I love that. And so I want to hear a little bit more about your tips for that. But first, tell people a little
Mhm.
bit about you. Tell them what you do, who you work with, and if you have anything exciting coming up.
Yeah, well, I'd love to. I love working mainly with women business owners who are really out there on a mission. They want to make the impact and help other people. But really, what they're doing is they want to be able to serve from the place that they're an expert in. So to me, that gives me a lot of joy. I'm really passionate about empowering women and making more money inside of their business. And I feel that when I can teach the skill of selling and serving your clients, both of those at the same time, how do you serve well and how do you sell well? You have an unstoppable business. How do you sell, to referral partners? How do you sell your services? And how do you serve to the point where you can get such incredible referrals back and support people? Your business allows it, your business grows because you're doing those two actions all the time. So what do I have coming up? Well, I have another event coming up. I usually have a couple of them this year, and I have one coming up again. So this time it's a small mastermind, and the reason I'm doing it is because what I like to do is zig when others are zagging. So what I did was I put a finger on the pulse of what I know is really a hot button right now, and I said, let's come together in conversation on some of the things we need to talk about as seasoned business owners. And so the only reason I know that is because I spend so much time with seasoned business owners who are clients. So let's bring more of them together and talk and connect and mastermind.
So smart. So if people are interested and they're like, tell me about this, I'm a seasoned business owner. How can I get in on this? Where can they find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
It's very simple. I just invite everybody to connect with me at jeanniespiro.com/contact. They can just go right to that page and they can connect with me there.
Fantastic. All right. So I am so curious to hear your answer to this question. I ask everyone this, and I'm always so surprised by what people have to say. But in your business, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean?
Okay, so I have a couple of resources that I use, and one of them is a very simple planner. But Monday is my best day of the week. So I feel like if I have not had a good Monday, the rest of my week is going to be miserable. So what I do on Mondays, that's my day. I unpack everything out of my brain on a Monday. I get it all organized. It's all over my walls. I might rip it all down or erase it from my whiteboards, but I basically really look at what do I really need to get done, what's most important. And I divide it into three categories. One is always revenue generation, another one is marketing, and the third one is admin, and that goes to my team. So I'm like, okay, great. Do I have projects? Do I have anything important coming up? What am I doing to attract more people? And what operationally do I need to send to my team so I can pull myself out of the seat of thinking I need to do everything? Because for a long time I did. So Monday begins the whole unpacking of it. And then the other thing that I do is I never used to meet with my assistant, and now I meet weekly with my assistant. And it has been a game changer because she'll tell me, you can't keep that anymore. You have to give this to me. I'm like, you are right. I'm not holding on to this anymore. So I just have developed some things that work for me. I guess that's probably the best answer I can provide. I'm smarter. I don't have to work as hard because I think that I have a lot more help too. And people who are willing to do more for me.
Fantastic. I love that. It's right there is the sign of a seasoned business owner. You finally get to the point where you accept you can't do it all yourself and you learn to let other people help you and work in their brilliance.
Yes, absolutely. And, I also realized that I have others on my team that are better in areas than I am. I will tell you, Krista, I feel like because I spent so many years in sales, and because when I wasn't selling, I was serving my clients, because I had like a dual role. Those are my two areas. Like, I'm really, really, really strong there. I'm also a really strong speaker. But like, when you think of all the things you're great at, and then you just start to say, you know what, I want to spend my time here, not all of these places, then I started finding people to come onto my team to support my clients in those roles. So I don't have to do all of that. And we collectively can support our clients as a team inside my mastermind.
So smart. All right. So I want to talk to you forever because you are sharing such incredible info, but we're going to wrap this up with one final question. Great. And that is, do you have any final tips for people listening on how to sell high ticket and keep things rather simple?
Mm-hmm. So I want all of my clients to be out speaking. I want everyone to eventually learn how to sell from the stage. And so a couple of years ago, I created this guide, and I still have it available. And it's the Ultimate Speaking Lead Generation Starter Guide. When you go out and speak and attract clients, you get even better high ticket clients. So the guide that I created, if I can give you the link, it's JeannieSpiro.com/guide. If you start speaking inside of your business, or if you haven't, and you want to, this is a great starter. But I will say, speak as often as you can, online, in person, wherever you can, and understand that that is a conversion mechanism. People will want to speak to you immediately when you get off the stage. And that has been one of my secrets to success.
Brilliant. I love it. Jeannie, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your absolute brilliance. I hope all of you listening got as much value out of this as I did. I will see you again next week.
Thank you, Krista.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you up-level your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.